stuff about changing tone of voice. Because if someone lies, they will probably change their tone of voice. Okay, so what I'm going to get you to do is this exercise that we did yesterday. So I'm going to talk through it so you can go off and practice. Now, you're going to need bits of paper. I'll get you some paper. And yeah, you just have them laid out like this. And then you start with the person facing that way. One of the reasons I like this exercise as well is that there is something about change and outcomes that is related to us moving forwards. Because we don't walk like crabs towards things we want. You know, we walk towards what we want. We move towards what we want. So actually you are unconsciously setting up the idea that someone is going to walk towards what they want. But that's just an underlying bit of that. So in the start, you'd have the person facing there, and you'd have them before the bit of paper round environment, and you would just ask them to think of the environment where the probleming goes on. So if it's work, something about work that they want to change. All right, yeah, I'll stick with work as an example because I can think of someone I did this with fairly recently, about 2 weeks ago. So at work they have a staff meeting. This is NHS actually. Yeah, they have a staff meeting, and they bring together like, big group of people. There'd be about 50 people in this staff meeting. So there'd be like psychiatrists, psychologists, and all kinds of support workers. Yeah, just sort of loads of people. Hopefully you're not in this meeting.
I can assure you it will probably be similar even if I'm not.
Yeah. Well, actually, I can say this happened at Wyndham, so you don't go to Wyndham.
I used to be there.
You used to. Gateway House?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I built it. I didn't
You
build
built
it.
it? Wow.
I was on the project team
Right.
that built that building.
Cool, yeah.
But it's okay, I don't work there now.
Yeah. Good. I wasn't going to reveal any names, but anyway. So the person's problem was they sometimes want to speak in this meeting, and they just don't like talking up in front of a group of people. And there are about 50 people, I think, present in this meeting. And, they got their bosses there. They've got, psychiatrists and sort of people who they perceive as powerful and supposedly sorted. So they sit in a particular room for this meeting, and so that's the environment that I'd have them think about. So think about the setting, because part of it actually is even the chairs for this person. They don't like the chairs because that seems to them to lead to it being a feeling of more formality. It's a more formal place. Talking of chairs, those chairs have been changed, haven't they? Yeah.
Not from yesterday. Not from yesterday.
No?
Not with those chairs.
I thought I'd put these chairs out. Anyway, that's...
Yeah, no, there was some of them, a couple of them stacked up outside yesterday.
Oh, they must have done it, yeah, because on Friday I definitely put wicker chairs there. Anyway, just total distraction. So chairs, yeah, chairs was part of the person's environment. So I got them to connect with that environment, and then I got them to stand on a bit of paper once they're connected with, bless you, the environment. And then I asked them, what's the behaviour? So they stepped onto there and told me, well, I feel tense. I feel My muscles are tight. I feel my breathing speeds up, my breathing's higher up in the body. And they would even get sweaty palms. So those are actual behaviours. So anything that is doing, that is behaviour. And part of the behaviour was in their mind also thinking, oh my God, I've got to speak. Oh my God, I don't like what they're saying. And lots of stuff like that. So then I asked them to connect with the skill, because they've had this experience time and time again in this meeting, and yeah, they were able to step onto skill and acknowledge that there were physiological responses that just happened in the body, and they didn't even have to think about them. So there was that kind of automatic skill in this sense. And then I asked them to connect with ability or capability. Sometimes I call this capability. And connect with what it was that led that skill to be there. And for them it was partly related to being in that environment, but also the fact that they had done similar things like that before in other meetings. They'd done it in the past. So they had that ability and capability because they'd done it in the past. Yep. And then I asked them, okay, so what is it you believe about yourself? And I'll often connect it with what they're doing or what the problem is. So I say, so what is it you're believing whilst your muscles are tense, whilst your palms are sweating, whilst you're saying those things in your head? What do you believe about you? What do you believe maybe about the situation or believe about the world at that time? And once you're connected with the belief, step onto it. So they connected with a belief that I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I'm not allowed to voice what I feel and think. And that was the major belief. So that's all I need to find out. I never ask why. If you notice in the outcome questions as well, in NLP you never ask why. Why is that, you may ask? And it's because you will get more reasons for why the person's doing what they're doing. And then they will be more concrete in what they're doing. They will get more reasons to do what they're doing. If you ask why, they will give you more and more reasons and more justification then to do what they're doing.
So more excuses.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. So that's why we avoid why in NLP, because it will just bring out more excuses. So yeah, find out their belief, and then I ask, well, what's the value in holding that belief? Now this can sometimes be a little bit tricky because the person might think, well, there's no value. I don't want to have this. But actually, if you then talk about familiarity or comfort, they will then connect with actually, and in this case, the person's value was, it keeps me safe. I get protection by staying quiet. I'm protected from judgment. So then I had them step onto that. So their value is protection, safety. And then I'd ask, well, who is it you're being when you believe that you can't say your opinion, when you're protected in this way, and at the same time you're tense in your muscles, sweaty palms? What do you believe you would call yourself? Now sometimes I might then need to say, or what would you call someone else? Because sometimes people can't relate what they would call themselves because they're so in the problem. But if they think about someone else, they can then come up with what they would actually call themselves. So yeah, connecting with the identity, and I think their identity in this was an identity as weak. So they got to step onto that, connect with seeing themselves as weak, and then ask them, all right, so in a moment I'm going to ask you to step into everything that is not what you've said. So in a sense it's an unusual question, but you're alluding to the fact that the person can step into something spiritual. So some people will be able to do that very easily. They will be able to step into a meditative state. They'll be able to step into a sense of connection with nature, or a sense of connection with just positivity in other people. So as soon as they can say, yeah, I can connect with what is not me and everything that is not my problem and something that is spiritual, then you ask them to step onto there, and then you get them to close their eyes. The reason being, you want them then to go more into the feeling of being in that spiritual connection. And then I ask them, so as you connect with that, what symbol comes to mind? Now really that question is designed to get the unconscious to come up with something, because the unconscious loves symbols. It works with symbols. And whatever the person comes up with is fine, because they might say teapot. They might say I see a flag waving, fluttering in the breeze, and there's sun behind it. Or they might say a golden light. They might say a whole range of things. So in asking for a symbol, ideally it needs to be something visual, but it might not be visual straight away, because it might be more of a feeling. But they need to expand that into something that's visual, auditory and kinesthetic, if possible. So if they then say, I've got this feeling of expansiveness, and then I'd say, okay, so as you have a feeling of expansiveness, what one word captures that? What one word expresses? So it needs to be one word, because if they have a sentence, it's going to lose power. Because by asking for one word, it's more likely to be something abstract, or something that's got a lot of meaning. That's what I mean by abstract in this sense. So I think the person had like peace, and so yeah, peace can have a whole range of meanings. So they connected with peace, and then I was asking them, so yeah, as you have that word peace in your mind, what do you see? And got them focused on something very visual, which has completely gone out of my mind. But yeah, they had a feeling they had a symbol. Oh yeah, the symbol was, and I have no idea really what this means, but they said they had a symbol of omega. Does that mean anything to anyone? Didn't mean anything to
The
me.
omega symbol.
Yeah,
It's a Greek symbol.
Oh, right.
yeah, yeah. So if you go like that, yeah, then
Yeah, it's kind of a
yeah.
omega symbol.
I assumed it was something like a DNA strand, the way they talked about it, but I just said, brilliant, okay, so have that omega symbol in mind, because it's what it means to them. That's the main thing. So then they had the omega symbol, they had the word, feeling, and you'll normally see the person change as they connect with that symbol, as they connect with the feeling. You'll see their breathing shift, and then you know you can take them back. So you literally do get them to step back onto identity, still with their eyes closed, although you might want them to open their eyes before they step back for safety. So step back onto identity, close your eyes, and as you have omega in your mind, as you have peace in your mind, as you have that colour, what identity do you have now? And they said, connection. I have connection with everyone and everything. And then I asked them to step back onto value, and what do you value now? As you have that omega symbol, that word, that feeling, and connection, what value do you have now? And they said, well, it's a sense of love and connection. And then I said, okay, so step back onto belief, and as you have that love, connection, the omega, and everything, what do you now believe? And they said something like, I am important, my words are important, everything about me is important. And then got them to step back onto ability, so believing that everything you say is important, having that omega in mind, having that identity, what ability do you now have? And they said, well, I've got endless ability, capability. Step on skill, again use the same words, because the reason I keep using their words is I've now got a way of keying into their neurology, keying into their nervous system, and keying into their experience, so it can build on their experience. And it's almost like, good analogy for this time, yeah, it's almost like working with a set of lights on a Christmas tree, you know. You have the whole string of lights, and you just